Hi, I'm James Williams and this is Chimes Media. Right, I just make a little preamble statement before I come out with this news. I am, generally speaking, against Islam. I'm not against Muslims because I tend to see Muslims largely as people who have been subverted by propaganda and brainwashing techniques. Praying 5 times a day is a form of social conditioning as far as I'm concerned. So when I'm making these news announcements, it's not necessarily aimed at particular Muslims, except for those who go out and do harm to people. And there are many Muslim people who are very nice people, so it's not a slag off against them. But as I said, I regard Muslims as being under the sway of a dogmatic theology, which is basically a political ideology. There's not much in Islam itself to proclaim it a proper religion. Nevertheless, this is some news. It's quite shocking stuff. Pro-open borders do-gooders stop plane deporting a child rapist. Officials escorting Yaqub Ahmed on a flight from Heathrow to Turkey were forced to abandon his deportation when around a dozen holidaymakers who felt sorry for him angrily intervened shortly before takeoff. Self-righteous passengers staged a mutiny, stopping the flight and demanding his release. However, Somalian national Ahmed has been found out to be a convicted gang rapist who was being kicked out of the UK because of his sickening crime. One wonders if the assumptive passengers' arrogant behaviour would have emerged had they known this beforehand. Nevertheless, their false heroism, based on ignorance of the facts, gave tacit approval to a man who had been sentenced to 9 years in jail for his part in a vicious gang rape of a teenage girl. This was a gang in which at least one other member had fought for Islamic State in Syria. Ahmed had been released from prison after serving little more than 4 years and lived in a halfway house in North London. Because of his conviction for such a serious crime, the Home Office ordered his deportation, which led to him being placed on the flight to Istanbul. At one stage during the astonishing episode, filmed on mobile phones, one traveller complained, "They're separating him from his family," while others chanted, "Take him off the plane! Take him off the plane!" when harassed security guards caved in and walked 29-year-old Ahmed off the Turkish Airlines flight. He was seen thanking those on board for their support as they cheered and applauded. One person was heard declaring, "You're free, man!" One wonders if the do-gooder passengers feel so content at setting a child rapist free, since open borders supporters do not seem to believe that criminals should be detained at all. Libertarian groups such as Centre for a Classless Society actively campaign for the abolition of prisons. One Daily Mail reader commented the police should have been called and all the passengers who were interfering should have been arrested and removed from the plane. Another said, "Looked like a plane full of snowflakes." And a third pointed out, "Now it'll cost a lot more to fly this man back on a private charter." Well done, silly, interfering, self-seeking, do-gooding idiots. Conservative backbencher Philip Hollowbone, who was tabled bills to speed up the deportation of foreign criminals, said, "We need to deport these people and members of the public should not be allowed to obstruct the proper course of justice." My comment is that I would hope that each passenger gets appropriately charged by the airline and authorities with interfering with an authorised flight, as well as obstructing the course of justice. Now, in other news, the United States Department of Justice, otherwise known as the DOJ, have released a statement that says 73% of terrorists in the US prisons are foreign nationals. In 2017, 2,500 people on the US terror watch list were prevented from entering the US thanks to President Trump's block on illegal immigration from 7 named Islamist terrorist promoting countries. Now back to the UK again. This is an article, I think it was in the Daily Mail. Muslims in the UK top 3 million for the first time, with over 50% born outside of Britain. Number in country doubles in a decade as immigration and birth rates soar. In some parts of London, close to half of the population are now Muslims. On current trends, they will be the majority in those areas within a decade. More are under 10 years old than any other age group, indicating future generations. England is home to more than 3 million Muslims for the first time ever, new figures show. The number in the country has doubled in just over a decade as a result of soaring immigration and high birth rates. In some parts of London, close to half the population are now Muslim, according to detailed analysis of the Office for National Statistics. On current trends, they will be the majority in those areas within a decade. Now, okay, for those who really don't understand it, I wouldn't have bothered if they were Hindus or Buddhists or whatever, but Islam is not like other faiths. Islam is intolerant, totally intolerant of other faiths. And if you're a pagan, or if you're a Hindu or whatever you are, they have no tolerance at all for you. You only get a little bit more if you happen to be Christian, but only a little bit, because you're seen as the children of the book. Under Sharia law, if this comes as it is to be spread throughout Britain and elsewhere, under Sharia law, there is no such thing as religious freedom. There's no such thing as freedom of speech. No such thing as apostates. No critical theory and no blasphemy. If it is not in the Quran, it is not Islamic and is not acceptable. And that includes factual knowledge of things. Now, as I said at the start, this isn't against all Muslims, but all I can say that is that if you've got what is known as moderate and nice Muslims, they are not proper, fully fledged Muslims. There's hope that they are nice and they will continue to be nice. They're not fully fledged Muslims because they are not following the perfect Muslim, which is Muhammad himself, who, I should remind you, married a 6-year-old girl. So if you want to follow a paedophile as your leader of your faith, well, that's your choice. That's all for now. Until next time, take care of yourself.